Hello beautiful people, Kendall Hailstone here. Thank you so much for joining me today. And bear with me, I'm still feeling a little bit nervous about making these videos. It's been a while since I've been on camera, and so I'm recognizing this uncomfortability that I felt when I first started making videos, and it's with me still now. So please bear with me as I overcome this fear and this kind of anxiety that I have about being on camera. But today we're talking about the need for radical, drastic change in our society. Maybe you've been feeling this since the whole pandemic. Maybe you've noticed how our government and our society doesn't really seem to have the ordinary person's best interest in mind. It seems like that they will say that that's what they stand for, but when you actually look at their actions and their practices and their policies, it really seems to me anyways that their agenda is more based on attaining more and more power. And so, please leave in the comments down below if you disagree with me, or if you do, please, share. I would just love to hear your thoughts, and we can start a peaceful dialogue and really start to hash out what different kinds of changes that we think are necessary. And so, first off, I just want to start off with sending a message to my friends, to my family, to my extended acquaintances, that if we truly want to see a lasting change in our society, in our culture, I truly, deeply believe that we need to do it together. We need to come in communion with each other. We need to start looking out for one another. And we really need to start, just talking, having dialogue, open discussion about what really we want our world, our culture, our society to look like. Ultimately, for me, I want a world that lives in harmony with nature, that lives in harmony with each other, that is peaceful and is prosperous for as many people as possible, for as much life as possible. That to me is like my Eden. And so, I don't know if you can resonate with that or not, but I think this whole, only looking out for yourself type of, construct that we've been a part of, I just don't really feel like it's working out that great. If you just look at the outcomes that we have in our world, to me, it just seems like something is not working properly. Something is broken. It seems sick, in need of repair and regeneration. And so that's something that I personally want to be moving towards. It's been such a passion of mine to be creating and be a part of a self-sustainable community that's based on consciousness, love, peace, and freedom, and working in harmony with nature, and working on regenerating the earth, and being in symbiosis with nature ultimately. So with that being said, I want to kind of break down the different aspects of our society that I think that need to be addressed, that we should be having open dialogue about, of how to actually be creating lasting positive changes in these different areas. So the first thing that comes to mind is food. Our food production and distribution, I think, definitely needs to be addressed. Right now in conventional agriculture, we're destroying the soil. We really are, by using, practicing tilling and the use of, spraying salt-based fertilizers and poisons, pesticides and herbicides on our crops. We are killing our insect population. We're killing our microbes in the soil. We are deteriorating the structure of the soil, and we really can't afford to be continuing these highly damaging practices to our soil and to our environment. And this is the soil that we depend on for our food, and we are being very irresponsible with how we use it. And so I believe that addressing our food production and distribution is very important. And we can get into this video specifically is just an outline of the different areas, and we'll go into more details of these each of these aspects in separate videos. And so, yes, obviously food is important. We all need it. Next thing that comes to mind is water. The next thing that we need access to clean water. And so I think that addressing how we get access to water, how we filter water, and just the whole process of making sure everybody has clean water. That should also be addressed, and we should have open dialogue about that. I think that people should be able to agree and disagree on certain things and be able to work things out in a peaceful manner without having to, being attacking people personally because you disagree with something that they say. I think that realizing that we all want the same thing of really creating a better world for everybody, I think starting from that foundation, if we have a dialogue from that point, that our conversation will be a lot more productive. So food and water we've discussed. Now shelter, let's just look at shelter. I think that how we are housing people, the types of shelters that we are creating, and just the whole system of how people acquire homes and shelter, I think needs to be addressed as well. And that's kind of getting more into like the financial market and things of that sort as well. But I definitely think it'd be important to have all of that be a part of that conversation. So right now, our homes are really designed, in my opinion, very poorly. They are not very energy efficient, and they rely heavily on a lot of fuel consumption in order to make it a comfortable living situation. And so I think looking at the design of houses would be important as well. The location of houses, how they're distributed in relationship to each other. And then, just looking at the whole spectrum of our housing and how we acquire housing, how we build housing, the resources that we use to heat and cool, the resources that we use to actually manufacture and build, to mine, and not mine necessarily, mine including too, but how we extract the resources from our environment, that's important to address as well. So we've looked at food, water, and shelter. I think the next big thing to look at is how we make decisions as a community. I think that is an important thing to discuss in moving forward with the goal of creating a better world for everybody, a world that benefits everybody, not just a few at the top. And ultimately, I think that creating an alternative society kind of structure versus trying to fix and mend the current structure as it is, I think creating the alternative is more of an ideal situation, because our current structure, everything, all the different parts of it are interdependent, and it's also designed to self-preserve, to keep itself going, to preserve the power where it lies. And I think that a big part of a shift that I see is a redistribution of power and taking more personal responsibility within communities. And so I think that's definitely just part of the discussion that I want to have with as many people as possible that feel that real change is necessary. I think that looking at how we make decisions, where the power should be distributed among the community, and I think that's a really important topic to discuss as well. So the next thing that I think that should be addressed as far as like an ideal society is civil liberties and personal freedoms. And maybe you've been feeling a little weary about the state of our world and the types of regulations and policies that are being in place, are being proposed right now, and how some of those policies are infringing on some of our personal freedoms. I think that addressing what those freedoms are, what are the non-negotiables, what are we unwilling to budge on as far as our personal freedoms. And so I think that's an important conversation that should be had. And the same thing with all of these conversations, my intent is not to condemn or to put down anybody for the way they are currently living. Ultimately, I love and accept all of you just the way you are. And just because I'm proposing changes doesn't mean that you are a bad person for doing the things the way you do. Just because I'm proposing changes doesn't mean that what you're doing is wrong. All I'm proposing is that there is a better way to do things that will actually be more beneficial for more people, including yourself, including the longevity of our Earth, which, in my opinion, is good for everybody. It's good to maintain the health of our environment, of our planet, because ultimately we all depend on it. I'd say it's very selfish for someone to not consider their impact on the environment, because ultimately it affects them, affects their family, affects their children, their grandchildren, and literally every other single person on the planet. So I think collectively, if we can come to standards of conduct of how we are going to be acting and the types of repercussions that are acceptable, that we're willing to accept as far as the impact on our environment, I think that's really a critical thing to be looking at as well. And like I said, I don't wish to condemn anybody for the way they're doing things. I just want to have an open dialogue of how we can maybe do things better. So with those things being said, please let me know if you think I left anything out. The last thing I want to mention is energy, how we're creating energy, how we're generating energy, how we're using it. And ultimately, I think that burning fossil fuels is ultimately not an ideal way to be creating energy, because it is creating toxic emissions that pollutes our air. And so we talked about food, water, and shelter. Let's talk about air. How can we ensure that we all have clean air to breathe? I mean, I feel like having clean air to breathe is a human right. Having nutritious, clean food, having clean access to water, having clean air to breathe. I mean, those are all things that all people here on this planet, all life on this planet should have access to. And us being, more conscious, sentient beings here on this planet, I don't think that we're the overlords of this planet. I think we are here to be, to be adding to the growth of all life, to be to create symbiotic relationships with our environment, with all of the other life on this planet, so that we can really ultimately thrive and live in harmony. I think that is ultimately the destiny of human life, as part of nature. And I don't pretend to understand the complexity of the universe. And when I said the word destiny, and I guess I'm just using that in terms of what I believe is the function of human beings in the greater context of nature. I think that we are part of nature, and it's our role to be a positive influence on the growth of all life, especially because I'd say, are more conscious than I'd say most other life here on Earth. Obviously, all of life, in my opinion, has consciousness, including, ants and, fungi and bacteria. I'd say there's more of like a select few that are actually aware of their own consciousness, us human beings being at the forefront of that realm of being aware of our consciousness. And so I feel like with that great power comes great responsibility, from the famous words of Ben Parker and the Spider-Man. So yes, I certainly think that is the case still. And so, like I said, if there's anything that I've said that you disagree with, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to have a peaceful dialogue about it. I just want us to start having open conversations about these things. The fact that there are certain things that we're not allowed to talk about, I think is ridiculous. If there's anything that you think I missed or anything that you think I'm wrong about, please leave that in the comments below too. And let's hash it out in a peaceful, calm manner. And I feel like that we can have respect and kindness towards each other, even if we don't agree. So that wraps it up for this video, and you can look forward to more videos of this type, going into more detail of what it really takes to be creating a society that really benefits everybody, and creating those radical, drastic shifts that I think need to happen in order to make our world a better place. So please don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and please share this with your friends. There are people that I have access to as far as my communication with them, but you probably have a whole group of people of your own that you have access to communication with, and that I feel like if you think that they would resonate with this video, please share it with them. All right, thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for spending your time here with me, and I'll see you next time. Peace.